Like I said, my review of this book and my final thoughts on it you will find in my next weekly reading wrap-up. But yeah, spoiler, it's going to be a good one. I'm going to pick my next book, and I am actually going to be packing this evening to go on a trip for a few days. And so I kind of need to have a few books that I'm going to read for the next like 3 or 4 days. I have my deck of unicorn cards here. Again, they should be numbers just 1 through 6 or ace through 6. However, I realized I said that at the beginning, and then the very first number I pulled was the number 8. Which I kind of realized the last time, but couldn't figure out. How did I not notice immediately that that was not 6 or lower? Anyway, my next card draw is going to be a 3. Okay, so I get to move 3 on the board. Let's see where that could land me. So if I move 3 directly to my left, I could do a cryptid read. That's definitely not happening. I don't think I have any books at all that have cryptids in them. So what about 3 to my right? It would be a TBR backlist read. Okay, that might work. If I move to my left and up, I could do an autumnal setting. Oh, that's hard because I never know what the settings of my books are. And if I move to my left and back down, that would be outside my comfort zone. Well, I'm thinking TBR backlist read. Let me go and see what the instructions say that technically is. Okay, well, I checked it out, and basically a backlist is just anything that has not been newly released, which is pretty much the vast majority of my books. So that worked out in my advantage, so I'm just going to go ahead and move my little guy over to the TBR backlist. I'm starting to realize that I'm just kind of shuffling back and forth on this row, so maybe I am more lost in the corn maze than I'm thinking. It seems like it should be easy to get out of, but it's not. I did choose a book, and after considering everything that I said about what I need to be reading and kind of want to bring on this trip and that kind of thing, I did end up deciding to choose Our Mutual Friend by Charles Dickens. And this kind of works out well because it is Victober, it's the time to read Victorian novels, so this is perfect. I am anticipating having quite a bit of time to read on my trip, so I hope we'll see. Okay, so I have not checked in quite a while, even though it has not been that long for you. So what I am going to be doing is I'm going to be interspersing in between these breaks some pictures and footage from my trip that I went on to Chicago, so that you can see some of those. So that's going to be my B-roll, basically, is what I'm saying. So you will have seen that I was on the train super early in the morning, way too early in the morning. But anyway, let me talk to you about the book. So I have been reading Our Mutual Friend. I did not read this much on the trip because you will also notice this is a different copy of the book. What happened was, partway through my trip, I realized, in fact, very early on in my trip, I realized I was super allergic to that copy of Our Mutual Friend that I had. I have a very, very, very bad dust allergy, even if I take medication and all that kind of stuff. And basically, the book was physically putting me to sleep because of the dust. I know it was because of the dust because I've now read the same number of pages of and more in this edition, and I have not had that problem. And I could tell all sorts of other symptoms were going on. So, I tried listening to the audiobook. I wasn't at the point where I could do that. I also did not have a lot of time to read on that trip because we did all sorts of things, including I got to go to the Bean. And if you don't know what that is, I'll insert a picture, but that was super exciting. I had never been there before, even though I've been to Chicago numerous times. So the point of this check-in is to tell you what this book is about as far as I understand it. So I wrote some little notes here on my little card, and so I'm going to tell you my understanding of what this book is about so far. At the beginning, you are introduced from the very start to two people, the Haxams, which is the father Gaffer and his daughter Lizzie, who are basically in the business of collecting things out of the river. This is like a sort of known job that poor people would do is they would like basically dredge the river to come up with different things and then try and resell them. Gaffer started out doing that in general, and he talks to Lizzie about how like her whole life has been given to her by the river and the things that he was able to collect out of it. But Gaffer now seems to have gone into a side job within that job that is maybe a bit more of ill repute, even though it's like known that people do this and may or may not be frowned upon. And I won't get into what that job is because I think it'll be a little spoilery. But they at some point find that one of their finds has connected them to another family that they're now integrally involved in, what's going on in their inheritance case. And suspicion is all around. What I wasn't expecting from this book was that there's a mystery in it, trying to solve what's really going on with this found object and how much the different people in this book may or may not have to do with it. The mystery, I guess what I'm saying, is a very, very big part of this book. And everybody seems to be a suspect. Like, so far, I'm like, you all did it. You're all guilty. That's as far as I have gotten. My initial thoughts, additionally, and I'm sorry if you can hear my washing machine in the background. Anyway, what I was going to say, I don't even remember. But what I will say is that I am finding I am liking the writing style of this better than Bleak House. I think I mentioned in my review of Bleak House that there was one point of view that I just didn't like how he wrote. And that continued throughout the entire book. I got used to it towards the end. It didn't make me hate the book by any means. I still gave it, I think, 4 stars. But that was a large part of why it was 4 stars for me, is that it just made it harder for me to get into that perspective every time it switched to that. This one, I feel like is significantly more consistent. You are still following all sorts of characters. You're still at different settings and in different households all the time, but that's something that I love that Charles Dickens does. But in this case, every single time you are with a third person narrator. I'm liking that so far. All the characters are interesting. I think it's really fascinating that in this book, typically you have like a rich and poor dynamic and a middle class that you're dealing with in his other books. I feel like in this one, you're dealing pretty solidly with a poorer class of people, and or maybe some people who have money but are like new money. So that's really interesting. There are definitely, I would say, more morally gray characters in this book than I have found in some of his other ones. Like some of his other ones, like you have villains and then you have awesome, good, great people, David Copperfield. But in this one, there's definitely like a lot of morally gray characters, and even the good people in this book, I feel like are have a lot weighing on their conscience, is how I would put it. So I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying my edition because, yeah, not allergic to it, so that's a huge step in the right direction. There's been some interruptions, but now all my attention is back to this, and I plan on focusing and getting to this and getting this big chunky book done because I still have to escape the rest of the corn harvest. I'll check back in a little bit and we'll see what happens next. Okay, guys, I'm back. Pretty sure it's been a week since my last check-in, and I don't think I've read a single page since then. This is not good. I'm thinking, oh, I have all this time. I had another trip I went on. I brought our mutual friend with me to read on the trip. I read nothing. I read nothing at all. Forget read anything of this book. I didn't even listen to the audiobook of this, the audiobook of another book that I have, even though I had 20 hours in the car driving total. But I was with my husband, and I always feel like I'd just be ignoring another person to listen to an audiobook in the car. Even though now that I think about it, 20 hours probably would have had me finish Our Mutual Friend, but that's not what I did. So here I am on the 21st. I just finished sprints for the day. I am now almost 200 pages into this 800 some odd page book, and I'm seriously thinking I'm going to be trapped in the corn maze. I don't know if I'm going to make my way out. But I left off on TBR backlist read, okay? That's how we got Our Mutual Friend. I was smart in that the way out is basically directly above me. I'm gonna see what books I would need to read to get to the end. And then that, in theory, is gonna help me know how many pages I need to read between now and October 31st, right? That should work. Okay, so I have 4 spaces, let's say 5 spaces to land on the pumpkins. Okay, if I go straight up, which means I need to be able to move up. I need to pull books until I've gotten a total of 5 spaces moved forward, and I need to have books for whatever I land on, which could be any length book. And I don't know that I really even have any short books left on my TBR for this month. So enough talking. Let me just draw the card and see where my next one moves me. 2. I needed a lot more than a 2. Okay, well, maybe I can find a short book and then just one more book. I definitely shouldn't need more than 2 books. Okay, so moving 2 brings me to Cozy Read. I don't remember what's on my TBR Harvest list because I haven't seen it in a week. Let me go and see what that book will be. Okay, to help myself out, I brought all the books over here. So to clarify, this is a stack of books that I have that are for my trick or treat list. They're clearly not all going to be read. Like, that is just beyond impossible at this point. And they wouldn't make sense anyway. Not a cozy read. Also not a cozy read. Similarly, no cozy vibes here. So for cozy read, I'm going to go with my stack of books that I want to finish, and I'm going to choose a story out of The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter and other fantastic stories. This book is full of very old, like centuries old sci-fi stories, and surely one of them has to have some sort of cozy vibe in it. I don't know which one. I'll have to look up more information about what these remaining stories are about, and I will just put up on the screen which one I'm going to choose. But it's not going to work, guys. I looked. There's no cozy sci-fi happening in this. So I'm not even going to get to move those 2 spaces, let alone the next 6. So according to my own rules, I need to redraw. So forget all of that. I'm technically still on TBR backlist. Let me pull again and see if I can get a pick this time. Again, the perfect number would be 5 because that would just get me straight out of the corn maze. Anything short of that, I have to pick a book and then pick again. And I get an ace, which in my game I decided is a 1. Okay, so I need a repeat author. Okay, that should be doable. I'm sure over here is an author I've read before. Oh. Yes! No. 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 I don't think this is gonna happen, guys. The Amazing Adventures of Kavalier and Clay. This is the only book I have over there that is by an author I've read before because I've read this book before. It's a reread for me. Guys, this isn't a short book. What happened? This book is like 700 pages long. I would need to read 1,400 pages, and I still haven't escaped the maze. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's keep going. I don't think I'm escaping. I think that's how this video is gonna end. A 3. Does that get me out? I don't even know. 1, 2, 3. So a 3 lands me on Trick or Treat. And Trick or Treat, the space on the board means that I need to read a book that fits one of the prompts off of the Trick or Treat board, which is fine because my whole stack of books for my TBR were off the Trick or Treat board. So naturally, I'm going to choose the shortest book on there, which would be Tender is the Flesh. And I don't remember what I had used as the prompt for this. So I'll put it up over here on the screen, whatever the prompt was that this fulfilled off the trick or treat. Let's review what just happened here. I'm still in the midst of reading my TBR backlist book, which is Our Mutual Friend. I have 600 pages of this book left to read. I would then, after reading those 600 pages, need to read all 678 pages of The Amazing Adventures of Kavalier and Clay. But that's not the last book I would need to read, because after I finish this one, and I can read them simultaneously, that's fine, I would then need to finish Tender is the Flesh. And Tender in the Flesh is 209 pages long. I'm not going to do the math right now, but editing me will do the math. So I will put on what the total number of pages I would need to read to get out of the corn maze. So that's up on the screen, which means I currently, as of today, have 10 days left to read these books. So I would have to read, let's just say 9, because let's just assume I'm not reading any more today. So over the next 9 days, this is how many pages I would have to read every day. I'll put that there. I don't think this is going to end well. But we'll see. I think I'm going to end things right here for now. This whole episode, vlog, whatever you want to call it, I'm just going to say was a complete fail. But you still have one more coming, and that will be my wrap up for the month of October, is whether or not I actually made it out and whether or not I was actually able to finish all 3 of these books in the next 10 days. Wish me luck. I don't know how this is going to happen. I did not think that it was going to go down like this, guys. I really thought that I was going to be okay. I went back and forth a little bit with the first 2. I should have known, because I'm pretty sure I was aware that the first book took me way longer to finish than I thought it would, even though the second book was shorter. And now I have a total of 3 to get out. Maybe it was better when I didn't know what I was going to read after Our Mutual Friend. I don't know, but we'll see. Okay, that's it for now. So you'll see this come out, and then the next video you see in this series will be the conclusion of just how close I got to finishing. Will I finish? I don't even know. My guess is probably not. Spoiler for you all. But comment below and let me know if you think I can do it. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.